Hello and thanks for joining us. My name's Ian Stroud.
And my name is David Malone, and this is Hyperland. Ian, last time we whittled on about finance, and I just wondered if you'd actually got anything from it, or if it was so opaque that you, along with everyone else, is thinking, what was that about?
Well, I kind of now feel that the time I've been spending watching JPL talking at Capitol Hill and Lagarde at the ECB, I gave them probably too much respect, not respect, in terms of I thought they were kind of in control. Do you see, I keep sort of, they will say something and then the markets react. But also what you said last time was you were talking about Quasi's little dabble, and really what happened was, people can say stuff and the market will almost approve it, or they'll go, oh, I'm a way to sulk, and everything just crashes down. Is it the tail wagging the dog, or is it the dog wagging the tail? I think that was the big thing that I took from that.
Yeah, well, okay, that's good, because I mean, I do think the important thing is it's a historic moment when the dog that used to think it wagged its tail finds itself being thrashed from left to right and bashed against the wall by this tail that's grown to enormous proportions when it wasn't looking. And that, I think that was 2007-8. That suddenly the dog realised it was no longer in charge. I was in severe risk of whiplash from its tail.
Okay. Yeah,
So I think it's a historical moment.
Yeah.
When I look back at that podcast, we did talk all over the place, and I was thinking, God, should people complain? And they might, but I also thought there was something necessary about that, and I have a horrible feeling it'll happen again.
Oh dear.
Well, because I was trying to think, why was it like that? And what I think is this, that if you accept that the world is largely the way that all the experts tell you it is, then what you're listening to is you all accept, well, that's the way the world is, but some things are going wrong with this world. Sort of an analogy would be, look, if you buy a car and you think, well, you buy a car, it's a great car, and there's a natural risk in a car. It can get something can go wrong with the clutch, or you can get a flat tire.
Yeah,
it's no reason to think the world's ending. It's just machines get problems. They get flat tires. So you take it to a garage and say, I'm sorry, something's gone wrong. Can you fix it? And they fix it, and on you go. And that's one way of thinking that the world is, that the machine you're in essentially is a good machine, but like all machines, it occasionally has problems and you need an expert to fix it.
I think that was my perspective in terms of what the information I'm gathering around. I've got to make a choice. We've all got to make a choice. Is it truthful? And also, even if it's truthful, do I understand it properly?
Yeah, okay. But the other way of looking at it is you're in this machine, your car, and it breaks down, and you take it to the garage, say, and can you fix it? And they fix it, and they say that'll be 50 quid. You go, shit, all right. You get back in your car. 10 miles later, something else happens.
Yeah.
And you go through the same rigmarole. 3 miles later, it happens again. At what point do you think to yourself,
this car's not well made?
Yeah. It's not that I've got a fine machine getting the occasional problem, but I was sold a pile of crap.
Yeah. This is kind of how, I suppose, the general media is portraying, Credit Suisse goes bust, UBS goes,
it's a flat tire. We'll fix it for you.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Okay, so Silicon Valley Bank is gone. Oh, well, it was just a small regional medium side. It's okay. Somebody will fix it, and I don't need to worry.
Yeah, and this is it's a slightly strange thought, but I've had this thought, so I'll tell you about it. The analogy I chose is an old-fashioned analogy when industry made things like cars. All right, now think about the invention which changed the world, the PC,
right,
and all the software. Everyone's always, it's a commonplace to say, what a weird technology. When you make a car, every component of that car has been tested.
Yeah.
When they started releasing PCs and Apples, it would constantly crash, wouldn't it? fatal error 4. And you go, oh no. And everything you've done for the last hour, gone. And then they say, oh yeah, well, there's a bug in the software, but we're updating it. And this is a bit buggy, but the, 2.0.0, 0.4.1, it'll be out soon. And you go, and people made the point, imagine if cars were sold the way that PCs and their software is sold to you.
Yeah.
It'd be like selling you a car, you press on the brakes in the first journey, they don't work. And they go, oh yeah, there's a bit of a bug with the brakes, but don't worry.
There's an update coming.
It's an update coming. Try and avoid the tree in the meantime. And that invention is the invention which makes the modern financial world work. And the financial world itself is like the PC and its software.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It is constantly buggy. They are constantly patching it up and going, God, we didn't know that would happen. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
And so I think there's an interesting parallel there, that we are living in a world powered by a technology and enabling a whole world which is very much like that underlying technology, in that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the best that can happen is squads of people who are very good at patching it up, but who are ultimately lost about why they're having to patch it up. That's what they do for a living. And the financial world's the same way.
Yeah.
The bank doesn't work. So we'll invent securitization. And then securitization, oh, it's a bit dodgy. I tell you what, let's have CDOs. Let's have collateralized debt obligations. Oh, it's still. I'll tell you what, let's have credit default swaps. Yeah, that'll fix it. No, and then no, that's not working either. Shit, let's have credit default swaps squared. Well, that whole thing fell over. I tell you what, let's have ETFs. Let's have exchange traded funds. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Then let's leverage them. Yeah, let's double leverage them. And that's, to me, these two things seem the same.
I see it. I mean, the current thing is, I think it's called the ESG. It's basically, if you're trading in shares, stocks, and companies, they're rating them by their social.
Oh yes, okay, environmental, social, yeah, okay, yeah.
That one. Yeah. But I mean, there's a side of that it sounds a really good idea, but when actually you strip it apart and go, yeah, this is more manipulation.
Well, no. I mean, I think having part of how you rate investments, being not just what return it'll give you in the next 5 minutes.
The rating is fine, but
in other words, all the ESG is doing really is saying we're going to include other criteria when we rate things. What's its effect on the environment? What's its social effect?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with that, but like all these things, it can be highly manipulated. Okay, well, yeah, I think that's another issue, though.
Yeah,
I mean, I do think there is manipulation going on and a lot of greenwashing going on.
Sorry, mate, I took you off track.
You did. And it's easily done. What I wanted to get at is that thinking about this podcast, I do think that it doesn't feel like we are, or I am at least, accepting the general description of the way the world is, that it's a good car, and then reporting on the problems of flat tires and faulty gearboxes. I think the reason that we talked around in the previous podcast, and the way we probably will again, is because what I'm saying is, I think the generally accepted description of the health of the car that we're all in is wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I think we need to step back and not report on the headline news, flat tire. Yeah. Gosh, man fixing.
I think you've hit the nail on the head in terms of why I'm sitting here is because I don't know. And on my smartphone, I've got half a dozen apps telling me the news. But I find it hard to not just believe, but also to understand what's been said. And that's, I think for me, that's the problem.
I think sometimes we're in a political moment where there is a disagreement, but it feels friendly because we're all essentially know that we agree on the sort of the fundamentals of the game.
Yeah.
But I think we're at a different stage now where it's difficult to disentangle when people, you think they're knowingly lying to me.
Yeah.
Versus the times when you think, I don't think this person is lying to me. I think they genuinely see the world in such a different way from me that they are telling me what they earnestly and truly believe is the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, an analogy would be the Romans and the Roman Empire. That if you read Roman histories of Roman history,
Yeah.
the thing which is constant is the Romans never invaded anyone. They were never the aggressors. Basically, they were defending themselves.
That's just a bit like...
Because what they're always saying is, there are barbarians just over there,
yes.
and occasionally they cause us problems. So what we need to do
Civilization.
is move in there, come to an arrangement with this lot,
Yeah.
and then there's a buffer zone between the ones that we haven't come to an agreement with,
Yeah.
the hairy-toed barbarians, and us over here. And so they do that. And then this buffer zone becomes part of the empire. And then they go, those barbarians are coming into the edge of the new empire, the new, slightly bigger empire.
Yeah.
And what we need is a buffer zone.
You know,
And
I'm
so
their
whole
Ukraine now, don't you?
Well, yeah, okay, but so the whole history and the way they genuinely saw it is they were just trying to live a civilized life and not have hairy ass barbarians bother them.
From their opinion.
But from the other side,
Yeah.
it was, here we are. We may be hairy ass and we may be barbarians, but my grandfather was a barbarian and his grandfather was a barbarian,
Yeah.
and we're quite happy being barbarians. And these Romans in their togas and their sharp pointy swords keep invading.
Yeah.
And both people see the world, and both
And it
people
completely...
are sure that's the way the world is. And I do think that's what's going on at the moment. And
Yeah.
I find myself on the outside of the Roman Empire, but unfortunately for me, it feels like I'm possibly the only one there. I mean, that's not true, but you do find yourself being called things like conspiracy theorist or various other names like that.
What, for questioning?
For questioning things. I mean, that's one of the things which has bothered me is that we had all of these new terms
Yeah.
like disinformation or misinformation or
Yeah.
fact-checking or conspiracy theorist. And they all seem to be designed to say that there is one way of
thinking
seeing it, and it's the Roman Empire way.
Yeah.
And anyone who doesn't see that we're not invading people, we're just protecting ourselves,
And that...
is a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah,
because
that doubles down.
And you're spreading misinformation and disinformation. And of course, there are people, apparently, I have not met any, but I'm taking it on faith that there are people who genuinely believe the world is flat. I find this difficult to believe.
The pancake.
I really
It's round,
question
but
this.
it's flat.
I think the media have to go door to door in Oklahoma
And
to
find
find
these
someone.
people.
And they found someone who's not been taking the medication, and they go, you see, there's people who believe the earth is flat.
No.
I'm not really sure there's that many.
No.
But there are conspiracy theorists. But to label everything that disagrees with what's in the Guardian as being a conspiracy theory, a swivelly-eyed, tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, is insulting.
No, it's lazy.
Well,
Well,
it's
it's
lazy too.
lazy and insulting then, okay.
And I do think there has been a growing sense in which there's the Roman Empire narrative,
Yeah.
and I do have a horrible feeling that the mainstream media has started to see its job less about speaking truth to power or holding power accountable, and more to do with protecting and bolstering this narrative of the way the world is, because people have to see the way the world is.
Yeah.
They have to understand the world the way the Roman Empire knows the world is. And that you end up with, that's their job of, they'll report on the news that bolsters that narrative and just ignore or rewrite the things that might be happening which don't fit that narrative.
Yeah.
And I find that extremely worrying. How can you possibly understand the way the world really is if one group with very good reasons for wanting to insist that the way the world is, like there's nothing wrong with the banking system, that they control all of the means of, all of the acceptable descriptions.
Yeah.
And I think that's extremely damaging. And I mean, maybe people will be listening to this thinking, no, he just is a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. But
Well, I'll just put in, I've got a slightly different thing in terms of we were hit with a tidal wave of the internet, social media, and all these platforms. And I think the sort of mainstream media that we have, certainly in the UK, there seems to be more of a fear of people not watching and not caring about them anymore. So their goal is more about entertaining. And as long as they're entertaining people and they're slipping in a little bit of news, they're not telling us anything that will make you question whether the view that we have got.
yeah, well, you see, that I think is the essential role that
Yes.
the media should have been. It should always, I think, its first job is to step back from the universally accepted, of course this is true, version of things and take issue with those and say, is that true?
Yeah.
Is that really the way it is? That should be the job of the media, of good journalism and good thinkers that the media tell you about.
Yeah.
Not broadly accepting that and then just describing things that happen within it.
Yeah.
And this is not something I've talked about before. I've thought about talking about it, but perhaps it does explain why I feel so that this is so important, and that it is the way I see the world. We are increasingly living in a world where we are told this is the way the world is. To go back to our previous analogy,
Yeah.
the car's fine, it just occasionally has some problems. And if that's not it at all, then you're always going to be doing the wrong things,
Yeah.
and always be surprised with what does happen. And so that's why I'm quite, I think, invested in that, because that's why we need to have a discussion. That's why we need to go, is that the way that the world is? Maybe it's not,
Yeah.
because I think we're all marching along
To a narrative
that isn't true.
yeah, this is the same in wider things in terms of education. I mean, the things that we're taught.
And we definitely are. There was a desk set up in World War II called, no, I might get this wrong, but something like Z19.
Uh-huh.
It was run by the man who's running that desk, or one of the, and this was in World War II, they were debriefing Germans.
Yeah.
And it was all to do with finding out what was going on from tidbits, making stories, and then feeding them into radio programs so that you would create this false story of what was going on. It was
Yeah.
meant to confuse the Germans.
Yeah.
Now, it was a very, very senior BBC journalist, and I wish I'd known I was going to tell you the story, because I'd have looked his name up. I can't remember his name. He's such a good journalist.
We'll put it in the notes.
Yeah, I'll put it in the notes. And I interviewed him, and off camera, he said, I said, that was World War II. And he said, it carried on a long time after that.
Yeah.
He said, my job after World War II, when I was working at the BBC, I was still working for this branch of the intelligence service.
Yeah.
And my job was to put false stories into certain newspapers. And I said, so what, like the East German newspapers? He said, yes, but also to get it into the BBC and to 2 very large British papers. I said, how long did this go on for? I was thinking, it would say 1954.
It's still going on.
Well, he was, when he retired, he said, it's going on as I retired. And this was, late on. And he said, we feed false stories in. And he wasn't particularly apologetic about it. But again, it made me think...
If it's the norm,
that there was a vision of the world, a narrative of the world, which they felt was important that we had and believed,
Yes.
even if it's not the truth. And I think the financial crisis, and I have to say the whole COVID thing, has really brought that home to me, that the real danger of that.
Yeah.
That it's all right to say, let's keep things quiet. Let's not tell people about D-Day. Let's just pretend that we're not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And that, in fact, we're just organizing a very large country fete. And that's why all the Americans are here.
Yeah.
Fine. You can understand that. But when it becomes a habit that those in power with something to lose say, let's use this to make sure that we protect what we've got. And even if that's going to be a general disaster for everyone else, i.e. read austerity.
Yeah.
We're going to use the levers of power and this habit in government to continue this. And we've essentially bought and paid for the media now because it isn't independent.
But this is...
And that I think is the root of our inability to deal with the financial crisis and our inability to be honest with ourselves about things as important as COVID. And I don't think we have been. I mean, my reason for saying that is, as you know, we made that film about COVID and I did a lot of research, and all is not well.
Is that at the root of the division that we see in society? I mean, anything you can discuss and talk about now, there seems to be completely polar opposites to everything.
Yeah, we're at that historical moment where...
we're at the stage where you can't talk about things.
Yeah, because, well, yes, I agree. And the extra thing that's happened there, which, I mean, this is my view.
Yeah,
Just my view. But I think, yes, we have had this sort of separation into, you know, I live inside the empire and I see it according to the Roman reality, and you're a hairy-ass barbarian outside. But it's gotten worse than that because people now, it seems to me, and it came up horribly in Brexit. And let's not talk about it for the moment. I'll get there eventually. And it certainly came up with COVID. That it's people, I think, have got to the point where they say, it's not that you and I disagree. We do disagree.
Yeah.
But I can't afford for you to continue to believe what you believe.
Yeah.
Because on the basis of those beliefs, you're taking actions which not only I think are wrong, and not only harm you, but they're harming me.
Yeah.
And so I have to stop you having your wrong beliefs, causing you to take wrong actions, because it's morally bad of you to take those actions on the basis of your beliefs. So your beliefs are morally bad. So that's the situation we're in.
Yeah. So, I mean, go back, I think it was, I can't remember what year it was, but to illustrate that in a way, it would be the Dr. Wakefield autism MMR. Yeah. He came out with some information. I'm not going to, I mean, it was proven to be very bad, but the illustrative point is the danger for people to believe that means they lose trust in vaccinations. Generally, it puts that seed of doubt in there. And if that happens, well, the world's in a seriously bad place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that raises another aspect of this, which I think is really important, and we'll no doubt talk about it lots of times. But I was trying to think to myself, why do people change their mind, and when don't they change their mind? And it's not to do with the amount of new information you've given them.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, why not? What is it that's the trigger that holds them up when you think, oh, they've gotten all this information, why aren't they changing their mind? And
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm going, yeah, that's me. I mean,
well, let me tell you what my theory is. This is my current, because I've been wrestling with this and thinking, what the, and this is my current theory. Let's see if you think it's right or not. I think it's not to do with proof. It's to do with collateral damage. In other words, if you say that thing you think, point A, is wrong, and here's a lot of information to show you that your belief A is wrong. I think what happens, sometimes consciously but often unconsciously, is people go, okay, what's the collateral damage of me changing my mind about A? If me changing my mind about A doesn't really affect any of my other beliefs, then okay. Yeah. But what happens if changing my mind about A
then
means there's a massive collateral damage of all these other dominoes of things I used to believe falling over, and some of them I'm really wedded to.
Yeah.
And they themselves are connected like a huge root system to lots of other things I care about.
Like
am I going to allow this one belief, A, to cause all of these to fall over and uproot this really precious thing? No, I'm not going to.
So, yes, I'm going to...
So it's all to do with collateral damage. That's my current theory. So Yeah, there you go.
My theory is I like to sit on the fence for as long as I possibly can because I get a really good view of both sides.
Yeah, but that's fine if the people on both sides are happy with that. But when it's no, if you're not with us, you're against us.
Yeah.
If you're not with us, you're one of the what was it that she said? What did Mrs. Clinton call them? The deplorables.
Yes.
That's the problem then.
Yeah.
Because it collapses that liminal space between right and wrong, and you say, well, I'm not sure. And people want you to be sure. Like either you're with us and you're sure,
or you're against us,
or everybody else is over there,
Yeah.
and it's morally wrong, and we've got to stop you because your belief is causing us harm. And that's the situation I think we're in. And it's not good.
Well,
there you go. We haven't made a single point again. But I think that's enough waffle for another one, don't you?
all right, yes. Thanks, David.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review.
And if you'd like to leave a comment, which would be great, we've set up a Hyperland Substack. So go to Substack, look up Hyperland, leave us a comment. We'd love to know what you think. And if you've got ideas that we should cover, that would be great too. Thanks a lot.
Brilliant. Thank you.